Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so excited that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids podcast family. We are all resolving to make 2019 the year we read more with our kids. And today we have a wonderful guest. She is the author of Rainbow Crystal. Her name is Samantha Caprio Negret. You know, one of the members of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family is our pal G. Brian Benson. Brian was on the show not too long ago talking about his wonderful Habits for Success book. We would love to give you a free audio version of Habits for Success, and all you need to do is to go to audibletrial.com/respect. audibletrial.com/respect. When you go there and sign up for their free 30-day trial, you can download Habits for Success or any other of their 140,000 titles absolutely free. Now that audiobook is going to play on your iPhone, your Android, your Kindle. It's really fantastic. If you haven't experienced an audiobook, you need to check it out. They're wonderful. You get immersed in the story. It really is a really excellent way to experience a book, and it's a great way to experience books with your kids. Now maybe you've already purchased Habits for Success, or maybe you're looking for something else to experience with your kids. Well, this is the great thing about going to audibletrial.com/respect, because like I said before, you can choose from over 140,000 different titles. Just sign up for their free 30-day trial membership, and you get to download one of those books for free, and that book is yours forever. If you cancel in the first 30 days, you owe absolutely nothing, and that book is yours to keep forever. audibletrial.com/respect. We would be so very, very happy if you would visit readingwithyourkids.com/yummy, readingwithyourkids.com/yummy. Go there and find out about the easiest way to snack smart and do good. We're talking about Love with Food. Love with Food helps you discover new, organic, all-natural, and gluten-free snacks delivered directly to your door every single month. And membership starts as low as $7.99 a month. And this is why we love Love with Food so much. Love with Food will donate a portion of the proceeds to help fight childhood hunger in the U.S. and all around the world. Love with Food donates to organizations like Feeding America and the Global Food Banking Network. So join us to help end childhood hunger one meal at a time. Visit readingwithyourkids.com/yummy to say goodbye to boring grocery store selections and to start snacking smart and doing good with Love with Food. Joining us right now from sunny Fort Lauderdale in Florida, she is the author of a beautiful new middle grade book called Rainbow Crystal. Please welcome to the show, Samantha Caprio Negret. Samantha, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about Rainbow Crystal, please.
So, Rainbow Crystal is, like you said, middle grade fantasy, and it's about the tragic loss of Seraphina's best friend, Josie Lee. She's 10 years old, Seraphina. And basically, it's a friendship story first, and the first part of the story is basically the bonding and the meeting of the friendship, and then they become inseparable best friends. And unfortunately, Josie Lee dies in a tragic accident. And Seraphina learned shortly after that she's the chosen one, and she's to enter this magical world called Raven to return a stolen rainbow crystal back from an evil witch and her trolls to the powerful wizard. And she has to go, it's basically a magical world inside a rainbow, and she has to pass a series of tests, in all these different colored realms to return the stolen crystal back. And along the way, she meets a warrior fairy named Noah and her very own unicorn that she birthed on a wish on a shooting star named Stella.
Wow, so much action going on there, huh?
Yeah, it's a very layered story. And there's a lot of world building going on. So to like kind of wrap it up in a couple sentences is a little hard, because there is two parts to the story. Like I said, the first part is a friendship story. And there's some foreshadowing going on. I'm also a flashback writer, so I start actually with the death of a friend, and not to give too much away about how that happens. And then it flashbacks into the friendship and how they first met and the bonding of Josie Lee and Serafina. And then, there's some foreshadowing going on. So they make this wish on a shooting star, to enter like a magical world one day if they ever could. And then shortly after, Josie Lee dies in a tragic accident. And then Serafina is whisked away by a talking butterfly into this world of Raven when she learns that the wish is really what got her into the world. And so she learns that she's the chosen one because of that wish. So kind of all the timing had to align. It was like divine timing.
Fascinating. I'm imagining this is a story that would really grab onto young people's attentions and really hold them.
I believe so. The imagination is endless, and that's what I love about it, and just the magical adventure that she goes through. But basically it is a story about loss and grief, and she finds hope again through this world. And it's also, Raven is the middle ground between heaven and earth. It's like a realm between heaven and earth. And basically she learns that the end is not really the end after all.
This is a subject that I think a lot of parents would shy away from dealing with their kids, the whole idea of loss, when in reality, it's a big part of a lot of kids' lives.
I agree wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of different, opinions on, the hard truth about, well, this is a children's story, and why would you put a tragic death of a friend in the beginning, and it may be a little hard for middle grade readers. But the hard truth is that a lot of children are going through loss, whether it be a parent, whether it be a grandparent, whether it be a friend, a sibling. Unfortunately, in today's world, there's some children who are losing friends in school shootings. I actually have a really good friend who's a behavioral therapist, clinical therapist for the victims of the Parkland shooting. We're not too far from Parkland, about 20 minutes away. And she's actually giving my book to some of the victim siblings, because it's a way of opening the conversation about death in a way that can be relatable to children, and maybe not have to make it so final after all. Because really, we don't know if it is final. There's no proof to say it is or it isn't, and everybody has their own belief system, and it's not even about religion. It's just about escaping inside a fantasy world that you can believe in something again and you can have hope again. And, I think children love magic.
Well, they certainly do. I've made a career out of the fact that kids love magic. And so I love that. And what I love about our conversation so far is that you're acknowledging that your book and that stories, it's something we talk about here in the show a lot, that children's books, children's literature are the beginning of some beautiful conversations, sometimes conversations that are really kind of scary and intimidating, both for parents and for kids, probably more for parents than kids. But they're conversations that we need to have, and to have a resource like a great story like Rainbow Crystals, it's a way to approach a tough subject without directly dealing with the kids' feelings, without sitting down and saying, so tell me how you feel about this. It's, hey, let's talk about the characters in the book and how they might be feeling. And in having that conversation, sometimes that's all the kid needs to then start talking about their own feelings.
Yeah, I agree. And, let me note that, I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning, that this was inspired by the loss of my best friend. So the characters are really based on me and my real life friendship with my best friend, who died tragically, but she died tragically and unexpectedly at the age of 28. In the story, she's 11. but I kind of go back to our friendship at that time because I met her around that age, 11 years old, and it was a very magical time. And it was also the time before technology and iPhones and smartphones and, computers where we would use a lot of our imagination, and we talk about some of this stuff and what we really thought would happen, like what is out there, what do you think happens when you die? It was just a conversation, and we kind of both had similar belief systems, and it was just really strange that we did happen to have those conversations not knowing that she would ever pass. Mm-hmm. But when she did pass, I was already writing children's stories. And so Rainbow Crystal kind of was manifested after the loss of my best friend. And then I started imagining, because I couldn't wrap my head around the finality of it. Like, I'm never going to see her again. Like, I can't. It was a very surreal feeling for me. Mm-hmm. And I felt like she was right there, but at the same time she wasn't. So it's like I could feel her spirit around me, but I can't see her physically. So I thought about a world that we could kind of meet together and what that world would look like. And I wanted to make it magical and beautiful, and kind of what maybe it is a little symbolism about heaven. Raven could be a little bit of like what I imagine heaven would be like, but I made it more again about the magic. Mm-hmm. And she does get to see her best friend's spirit again, and she has to do it through pixie dust. That's the way she gets to see her best friend again in the story. And she learns that her best friend is a spirit guide to her, and it really doesn't even require magic, just faith.
What was it like? What was the experience like for you writing this book, since it was so very, very personal for you and based on your relationship with your friend? What kind of feelings and emotions did you have as you were creating the story?
Wow, that's a great question, actually. It was very therapeutical for me because it took me through one of my darkest times. And when I was writing the story, I went back to a really cool time in our friendship. So I kind of felt like I was revisiting her again. And I think the mind is an amazing thing. And if we could use our imagination, it could take us places that we never dreamed. And I did kind of feel like she was there writing it with me. Mm-hmm. But that's my, that's kind of, I don't really believe that when somebody dies, it is the final, it is the end. That's just my belief system. Mm-hmm. So it's very open. I mean, it's very easy for me to be open to that. So I kind of felt that she was there with me through this process. Mm-hmm. And, it was everything. I mean, it really helped me pretty much get over the grief.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I mention is because I really believe that writing, even if you're not a professional writer or even thinking or dreaming about being a published writer, that writing is actually a very therapeutic practice for everybody, for journaling. So if there's a kid out there that's struggling with this, and there's so many kids who are out there struggling with loss, with fear, with confusion, whatever. I think a lot of times just encouraging kids to just sit down and write, whether it's writing a fantasy on the subject or just starting off, I'm really mad and this is why I'm really mad. But taking the time to actually slow down, because you have to slow down. You're dealing with all these emotions, and when you have to actually put pen to paper or put fingers to keyboards, you have to slow that down a little bit, and that kind of helps us deal with those emotions a little bit better. And then as we're expressing them either digitally or on paper, it's giving us just a chance to kind of get it out there and state it. And even if that piece is never shared with anybody, sometimes it's all we need. Sometimes it's all a young person needs to just kind of get all the poison and those poisonous feelings out, or get it. It can be the beginning of getting those feelings out.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you noted that. Because as a writer, I've been writing my whole life. I started as a kid writing just poetry and short stories and never realizing that's what I wanted to do when I was older. But it's funny that you should say that. I mean, not funny in the sense that like taking it as a joke, but when you said writing down, your thoughts and feelings and just kind of like getting that out and how important that is and putting that out there into the world. I used to do that a lot through, college, and I would write down, I journal all the time. I journal my prayers at night, some of my dreams, some of the things I want for like the new year, wishes, whatever you want to call it. And I found journals going back from when I was in high school or college that I wrote things down that I wanted in my life specifically and forgot about it, and will go back to the journal and read what I wrote, and I now currently have manifested it. And I think it's a very powerful thing when you're writing down your thoughts, because it brings you in the moment, and you're deeply embedded in that in the moment, and you're really pouring your heart out on paper. And there is something very powerful to that. And I believe that somehow something's hearing us out there, whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it God, if you want to call it the universe, and it tracks itself back to you. So I think it's very powerful for children, even adults, to write down and journal. It's not every day, you don't have to do it every day, but I don't always have the time to do it every day, but I find time to do it a couple of days a week, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, journaling has been a big part of my life. I'm up to, I think, page 11,050 or something ridiculous like that. But I'm very old.
I love how you keep track of the pages.
Well, I just write it up at the top. That's all.
I've just lost count of the journals. I'm probably on I don't know how many journals I have in my nightstand. It's crazy.
Well, so we talked about loss and dealing with our emotions through your wonderful fantasy novel, Rainbow Crystal. I understand you have kind of a change of pace coming out in 2019. It's I think the working title right now is Murphy the Fat Cat.
Yes, it is actually Murphy the Fat Cat. God, I love my little Murphy story. It's so near and dear to my heart too, because all of these animals, pets, have been based on real life pets I have owned at one point or another, and I didn't change the names. In Rainbow Crystal, they're inspired by real life characters, but I changed all the names. So, Murphy the Fat Cat was actually the first children's book that I wrote. And then Rainbow Crystal was the second. Rainbow Crystal just happened to get published first. But I just got it picked up, by Burchett and Ferguson. They're a new independent publishing, house that just, came about a couple months ago. They signed on Murphy and, the Fat Cat, and he's going to be coming out next year in August. And it's basically, about a really cool 35-pound fat, never call him F-A-T, P-H-A-T, he's cool, cat, basically runs this neighborhood, and he has to save his neighborhood, his peaceful neighborhood, from a gang of bullying burrowing owls that have moved in, led by the old wise owl named Don Al Leon. And Murphy has some friends who help him along the way. He has an informant lizard chameleon named Gaydon, and his bodyguard bulldog Ruthless Riley, who's kind of dumb but just lives to just protect Murphy. And I have had all these animals. So I did have a bulldog named Riley. I did have a chameleon lizard named Gaydon, and yeah, we're animal lovers over here in Davie. We have some acres that we live on, and my husband is an exotic animal breeder. So we have different albino iguanas and different things. So all these characters have basically come in and out of my life, and they're in the Murphy book. Some of them. I do plan on having a series, so hopefully some more can make it later on.
Wow. I'm trying to picture a 35-pound cat. I have a beagle that's 26 pounds, and our vet keeps telling me that one more pound and he's obese. And I'm just trying to picture what a monster that a 35-pound cat would be.
It's crazy. He really did get up to 35 pounds at one point, and we think he, was a very sensitive, but cool cat. He was kind of the boss cat around here. He didn't really think he was a cat. He didn't act like any cat I've ever known before. And what happened was he was a stray. We found him and his brother, but his brother ended up taking off and we never saw him again. And we got him declawed. And after that, he started gaining all of this weight. And I think it really was emotionally traumatic for him. So now I don't believe in it anymore. I don't declaw my cats anymore.
That must be an adventure in and of itself, living with an exotic animal breeder and living around all of these wild creatures. I recently was at an expo where I was letting folks know about the podcast and about my educational magic shows, and the booth next to me was an exotic animal breeder, and he brought out this, I think it was a monitor lizard. But
my husband has had a monitor lizard. It got so big, it got over 6 feet. He had to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was a dinosaur. I couldn't believe it. It was really cool. I loved it. And I got a very great video that I sent to my wife, and it terrified her.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm not big into the lizards either. My daughter is like my husband. She loves them, and he just, now he's onto the albino iguanas. Are beautiful. He's going to start breeding them. He really specializes in corals and frags and coral. He's in aquaculture, so we have thousands of corals and frags and tanks in our home. But he does do the exotic lizards on the side, and we've had a desert tortoise. And he wanted to get chickens and, do the whole thing. And I kind of put a stop to that. I'm like, let's just take our time right now. We have a lot going on over here.
I guess between rainbow crystals and Murphy the fat cat and the animals, it must be really busy down there. And you have a blog and a great website. Tell everybody about your website so they can find out more about you, please.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my website is Samantha Caprio Negret.com. And you can find all of my works in progress on my website. Currently, Rainbow Crystal is out for sale. You can get it on Barnes & Noble online, Amazon online. It's all linked on my website. Murphy the Fat Cat, I'm currently in the process of doing edits on. And I have written a screenplay as well that I'm shopping in Hollywood. However, it's nothing related to children's stories.
Well, we'll be watching the screens to see your name up there with that when that movie gets produced. In the meantime, we want to really encourage everybody to check out Rainbow Crystal's beautiful middle grade book, dealing with a lot of fantasy, but also dealing with the issue of loss. And like we've said in the beginning of the interview, there are so many kids. So many parents don't want to think that their kids have to deal with this, but there are so many kids dealing with the issue of loss, whether it's a family member, someone in school, if they're hearing about it on the news. Certainly, there's all sorts of stories of loss and violence in the news, and this might be a wonderful way to just start a conversation. And even if your child's not dealing with loss at the moment, sitting down and co-reading Rainbow Crystal and having great conversations about the book and about loss with your kids would be a great start to, to be ready for if the issue ever comes up. You've already had that initial conversation.
And my 8-year-old daughter has pretty much read most of it. She's almost done, and it hasn't been too much for her to take in. But we've always openly had conversations about stuff like this before, and so for her it's not, too hard to talk about it. But, I have my cousin 2 years ago lost his wife to breast cancer, 47 years old, and he's, a widower. Is that the correct way of saying?
Sure.
Okay, so, and he has at the time, his daughter was 8 and his son was 12. So he was left behind with 2 little kids, and it's been very hard for him to talk about it. He hasn't been able to really sit down and address so much of it with them. And, I recommended to him maybe they read the book and just see if it could start an open dialogue between them and him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He liked that idea because it's very difficult for him to talk about. It may not be for everybody, but some people really are uncomfortable with it.
Sure.
And when you're going through it personally, especially with small children, you know, for everybody, it's just a different animal for everybody.
Sure.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is one of the reasons I love this show, because it's a great way for an author to come out and tell folks about their books, and that way parents can make an informed decision. Do I want to add this to my family library?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And let me know too, I don't know if anyone because the podcast isn't live. I was going to say I will be at Barnes & Noble and Plantation on Friday doing a book signing and reading. And there's like a whole, they're doing, you know, the Polar Express theme with Santa Claus and fire trucks. But you can also go on my website to see what events I will be doing in the future, where I will be for book signings, and you can come get a personalized autographed copy from me. And I do really cool events. I make it very magical, and I have lots of surprises for the kids. So I make it really fun for them.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to have a chance to meet you in person. Until then, check out her website, Samantha Caprio Negret, and make sure you check out her book, Rainbow Crystal. Samantha, thanks so much for being part of our show today.
Thanks, Jed. And you can also follow me on Twitter or Instagram talking about my writing journey at SamCap924.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We have another STEM Tuesday episode for you, and our guest will be the author of Hedy Lamar's Double Life. Her name is Laurie Walmark. I was fascinated with this conversation with Laurie Walmark. I'm telling you, it is absolutely wonderful. You do not want to miss it. Hey, if you are the author of a great children's book, we would love to have you on the podcast. Being on the podcast is a great way to tell thousands and thousands of people about your wonderful children's book. And check it out. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it is absolutely free. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button. We'll let you know the next easy steps. Hey, I want to thank Samantha Caprio Negret for being here today. And of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. We'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.